Hi there. In this video, we're going to do an introduction to a statistical test and talk about statistical significance. We're also going to go use this test to talk about some of our statistical vocabulary that we'll be using throughout the term. So let's look at this test. Hopefully you have gone to the link and done this survey already, but if not, you can pause the video and do that as soon as I explain it. So we have two shapes here, a kind of rounded, more cloud-like shape, and then a more pointy, jagged-like shape. And we have two words, nonsense words really, kiki and booba. And you may have seen these words, or you may have seen this in the media. If you haven't already, please go do the survey, and you're just going to choose which shape you think is kiki and which shape you think is booba. Okay? And if you've seen this before, then try to answer like you did on the first time, or what you first thought. Okay? Great. So I'll give you a moment to do that. Okay, great. Thank you for doing that. So now we want to look at this as an example and use the example to introduce some statistical vocabulary. So the first thing we might want to be interested in a study is, what is the research question being explored? Okay, so in general, the research question is the thing we want to study or know. The thing we want to study or know. Okay, and then more specifically for this study, the researchers who designed this, they were interested in knowing, is there a relationship between the words and the shapes? Do people associate one word with one shape more often than the other shape? Okay, so I'm going to say, is there a relationship between these words and shapes? And it's these specific words and shapes we're talking about right now. They could also extend that to other words and shapes if they wanted to. Great. Now, the next question is, who or what are the subjects, cases, or observational units? These terms all mean the same thing. They're all referring to, first I'll put the general meaning in green here. So who or what we're studying is what these refer to, the subjects, cases, or observational units. Who or what we're studying. Okay, and so in this case, well, you think, well, we're studying the words and the pictures, but it's actually who is doing the survey. So you took the survey, I took the survey, so we are the observational units or the subjects. So in this case, it's people who took the survey. Okay, so it's all of us. You and me. Okay, what is the variable? So in general, a variable is a piece of information that we're collecting or recording. So I'll put piece of information being recorded. Okay, so let's think about, what is that for this study? There's a lot of different ways you could define it, but I'm going to define it as whether a person matched booba with the rounded shape. Okay, now we could have easily gone the other way, but we just have to pick something. So whether a person, each case, matched booba with the rounded shape. Okay, now this also gets to another interesting statistical concept called degrees of freedom. So I'm just going to write that over to the side. Oops. Degrees of freedom. You might think, there's two questions on the survey. You might think, well, there's two different questions, right? Which is the rounded shape and which is the jagged shape. But once you've answered one, then you've fixed the other one. So even though there's two questions, there's really only one question, because the other one is determined, or it's bound by that. It's not free anymore. So you'll see that we'll use this n-1. That'll come up in the future in our class. So this is a good time just to introduce that as degrees of freedom. Okay. So we have our variable, whether a person matched Booba with the rounded shape, okay? And then, is this variable categorical or numerical? Well, we will go into this in a lot more detail, but for this specific example, this is a yes or no question, or true or false, right? Did they match with the rounded shape with Booba or not? So because this is a yes or no question, it is categorical. It's not something we measured in inches or feet or counted, like the number of credits or something like that. Okay. Move this up again. Okay, so what additional factors should be considered in this study? We always want to be thinking about other factors. Have we forgotten anything? Is there, we want to try to make things as unbiased as possible. So in general, I'll answer this one in general first. We would always want to be considering factors like age, gender, race, ethnicity, income, maybe geographic region, education. There's many more. I'm not going to get them all here, but just trying to get a good number of them. And then in this case, I'll make it more specific to this study. We might want to consider different languages. Like, would someone who speaks many languages answer it differently than someone who speaks one language? Or would someone who speaks an Asian language answer differently than someone who speaks a European language? So the different languages and the type of language, the type of script, things like that, would that affect this study? So I'm going to say languages spoken. That might be something that could influence this study. Okay, so that gives us a good idea for our vocabulary introduction anyway. Now I want to move this up and start talking about go back to our statistical test again. Is there a relationship between these words and shapes? So let me move this up. Okay, great. Okay, so first let's suppose that there's no association between the words and shapes. That's kind of our default or baseline assumption. Later we'll call that the null hypothesis. But the baseline is there's no assumption, and we're looking to see if there's evidence that there is, no association. We're looking to see if there's evidence that there is an association. So we're going to assume or suppose there is no association. So then making the choice of which word goes with which shape would be like flipping a coin. So to test our results against this baseline assumption, we're going to flip a coin 25 times, okay? Now, the reason we're doing 25 times is we have 25 people in our class. Okay, so everyone's filled out the survey, and we have 25 students in a class. And so if everyone did it randomly, it would kind of be like everyone had flipped a coin. Okay, so if you have a coin handy, if you can pause and grab a coin real quick, especially if you're a real kinesthetic or physical or concrete learner, then I really recommend flipping the coin. And you're going to flip it 25 times, and this is one for each student in the class. And then record your number of heads, okay? Number of heads. We could have done tails if we wanted, because since it's 50-50, but I chose heads. And then the total flips is going to be 25, okay? So I'm going to end this video here so you can go ahead and do that. And then write down your number of heads. Actually, I'm going to show you the random number generator also. So if you don't have a coin handy, and if you're comfortable with abstractness, then I'm going to show you this random.org, and all the links we're using should be right above the video. I'm going to go to random.org coin flipper. And so I can select how many coins I want to flip. I'm going to flip all 25 at the same time. And then you can also select a coin type. So it's really fun to look at all the different coins. I'm going to select a US penny just because I know what's heads and what's tails for this video. And then I go ahead and hit flip coins. Okay, some of them are below the screen here. Now, this is similar. You could flip one coin 25 times or 25 coins each one time. And because they're independent, that means the same thing, right? So I'm going to count mine. You go ahead and count yours, and you can, whether you do it with a physical coin or random.org. And then I'll see you in the next video.